At first glance, Centralia looks less like an abandoned town and more like a town that was carefully erased. Roads continue into forests. Sidewalks lead to empty lots. Intersections remain even though the houses around them are gone. The disaster that destroyed this place was not a hurricane, a war, or a single explosion. It was destroyed by a fire most residents could not see, burning through coal seams and forgotten tunnels beneath their feet. Somewhere below this hillside, coal has been burning since 1962. The ground heated, dangerous gases escaped, and the earth itself became uncertain. After years of failed interventions, officials chose a solution that sounded almost impossible. Instead of removing the fire, they would remove the town. This is how a living American community disappeared while the force that destroyed it remained underground. This is Centralia, File 1 of erased from the map. Before it became a warning, Centralia was home. More than 1,000 people lived here, surrounded by the anthracite coalfields of northeastern Pennsylvania. Coal was not simply buried beneath the town. It shaped the town, its jobs, its streets, its churches, and the rhythms of family life. The region sat above valuable anthracite, a hard coal prized for burning hot and long. Generations cut tunnels through the hills to reach it. But when mines closed, the tunnels did not disappear. They remained as a hidden network, chambers, shafts, cracks, and passages through coal that could still burn. For residents, those abandoned workings were mostly invisible history. Life continued above them with block parties, school days, church services, and familiar neighbors. Near the edge of town, an old strip mine pit had become a municipal landfill. It was meant to solve a mundane problem, uncontrolled dumping around the borough. The danger was in what the pit touched. Openings and fractured coal connected the surface excavation to older workings beneath the town. Nothing about the town suggested that its ordinary landscape was one mistake away from becoming a maze of fuel, air, and heat. The leading account begins in late May 1962, when the town arranged to clean the landfill before Memorial Day by burning the refuse. The exact ignition sequence is still disputed, but the commonly accepted explanation is that fire in the dump reached an opening and entered the coal below. At first, the fire did not need to race. It only needed to survive long enough to find coal and oxygen inside the abandoned workings. Underground coal fires can smolder in places too dangerous or inaccessible to inspect. They move through seams, fractures, and old chambers, following whatever fuel and air remain available. Officials recognized the problem and began trying to define it. But an underground fire is difficult to fight when no one can see its true boundaries. A drill hole could tell crews what was happening at one point. A temperature reading could confirm heat there. Neither guaranteed what was happening 50 feet away. Crews excavated, drilled, and tried to isolate burning sections. Each attempt faced the same problem. The fire could travel through pathways that old maps did not fully record. Above ground, years could pass with daily life appearing almost normal. That was part of the danger. The town did not look like it was burning. The chemistry was simple: heat, fuel, and oxygen. The geography was not. The abandoned mines created countless routes for air to feed the fire. A barrier built in the wrong place could miss the active edge. An opening left unsealed could introduce more oxygen. Water could cool one area without ending combustion elsewhere. Every proposal required money, accurate maps, and agreement about urgency. Centralia often had too little of all three. The fire did not behave like one clean wall of flame. It could divide, smolder, reappear, and advance through different sections of coal. Sometimes the underground movement revealed itself above: warm ground, melted snow, dying vegetation, or vapor escaping through cracks. Residents began reporting heat, odors, headaches, and concern about gases entering homes. But the danger was uneven, and neighbors did not experience it in the same way. The town split. Some believed officials were minimizing a real threat. Others feared panic, falling property values, or a government plan to take their homes. A technical disaster became a personal one. Every map line crossed somebody's yard. Every proposed evacuation meant a family deciding what their home was worth. And while the town debated what the fire meant, the fire required no agreement. It continued beneath them. In 1979, the owner of a local gas station checked an underground tank and found the gasoline had reached roughly 172 degrees Fahrenheit. The number made the hidden fire suddenly measurable. The threat was no longer a distant patch of smoke near the edge of town. Then, in February 1981, the ground opened in a backyard beneath a boy named Todd Domboski. He caught a tree root while his cousin pulled him to safety. Hot vapor rose from the hole, carrying dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. The incident transformed the argument. A danger that had been abstract and underground had nearly taken a child in his own neighborhood. National attention followed. Cameras arrived. Officials toured the town. Centralia became a public test of whether the fire could still be controlled. But by then, stopping the fire everywhere would require an enormous, uncertain project. Relocating residents increasingly appeared cheaper than extinguishing the source. For families, the calculation was not abstract. It meant accepting a buyout, leaving neighbors, and walking away from houses that had held entire lives. Congress eventually approved more than $40 million for relocation. Most residents accepted offers and began leaving in the 1980s. Once a property was acquired, the building was usually demolished. Empty lots appeared between occupied homes, breaking familiar streets into fragments. Centralia did not vanish in one dramatic moment. It disappeared lot by lot, season by season, until the roads outnumbered the buildings. More than 1,000 people left, and hundreds of structures were removed. Yet a small number of residents refused to surrender their homes. To those who stayed, the town was not merely unsafe property. It was inheritance, identity, and proof that their lives could not be reduced to a government estimate. In 1992, Pennsylvania used eminent domain to condemn the remaining properties. Legal challenges continued, but the physical town kept shrinking. A damaged section of Route 61 was closed and rerouted as underground heat fractured the pavement. The abandoned road later became Centralia's most famous image. In 2002, Centralia's zip code was discontinued. Even its place in the postal system was disappearing. A 2013 settlement allowed the remaining residents to live out their lives there. Afterward, their properties would pass to the state. The result was something stranger than a conventional ghost town. Many abandoned towns leave ruins. Centralia was methodically reduced until almost nothing remained to decay. The 2020 census counted 5 residents. From above, the borough now resembles a plan for a town that was never completed. Steps still rise to missing porches. Curbs define blocks without houses. Trees grow where kitchens, bedrooms, and living rooms once stood. A church still watches over the hillside, one of the few structures that preserves the visual memory of a community once surrounding it. The fire is not visible everywhere, and its active boundaries have changed over time. But heat and combustion remain within the mine system beneath the region. Above, nature is reclaiming the empty land. Below, the industrial past continues consuming itself. Centralia is often described as a curiosity, the town with smoke coming from the ground. But its deeper story is about people asked to choose between danger and belonging. It is also a story about how slowly a disaster can unfold, quiet enough to debate, expensive enough to postpone, and persistent enough to outlast the place above it. The town is almost gone. The argument over what should have happened is fading with it. But underground, the process that erased Centralia has not fully ended. Centralia disappeared over decades. The next place in this archive was destroyed in a single morning. Subscribe to continue with File 2 of Erased from the Map. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.